This is the Vvolt Alpha II. It's an urban style e-bike that comes with some cool features and specs, and in this video I wanted to share with you what it's been like actually riding it and using it every day to hopefully give you a better idea if this is something you might be interested in. I made a previous video where I unboxed it and I went through the specs, so this video doesn't cover that. I mainly just want to talk about my experience with it. So if you want to check that video out, you can to learn more about it, and I'll also put a link in the description below to this e-bike as well if you want to check it out. So these are my thoughts. First of all, one of the things that's really grown on me is the way this e-bike looks. I feel like it's a very stylish e-bike. I love the design of it and the overall color choice, and I feel like it's built very well. All the components on it feel very nice. Nothing feels chintzy or flimsy like it's gonna break. Everything looks nice, it's very clean. I like that the headlight is built right into it. You don't typically see that on a lot of e-bikes. I also like this bar for added support for the frame, but I like that it still goes down lower, so it is still very easy and accessible to get on and off of, versus just if it was a full step-through frame, it wouldn't have as much durability. And if the bar was up higher, it would just make it more of a nuisance to get on and off of. So I just love the layout of the bike in general. One thing that could have been a little bit nicer would be if it put fenders on both the tires. That would just be a little bit nicer if you ride in dirtier conditions. Now, when it comes to the comfortability of this e-bike, I'm kind of split down the middle. I feel like the seat is pretty slender and thin and firm, which I prefer just more larger cushiony seats. That's what I typically enjoy, but I know a lot of people do like these more slender seats just for functionality purposes, so I guess it's not that big of a deal, but to me, I just like a little bit more comfortable seats. And also I think something that would have helped the ride out a little bit would be if it gave you some front suspension that would just help it out, smooth out the bumps a little bit. But I will say that the tires feel really nice and durable. They feel like a thicker rubber, like they're not gonna puncture that easily, and they do help to soften the bumps when you go over top of them. And then the other big thing that I really like about the comfort is actually the handlebar setup. I love that they're swept back handlebars. This is just easier to ride versus being leaned forward in a really athletic position. So this feels way more comfortable to me, and I also like that it's more of an upright stem on this thing that also helps to put you in that upright posture. So I really like the way that my body mechanics felt when I was riding this. Also, when it comes to the riding experience, I do want to talk about the belt drive because I feel like there's some pros and cons to it. The pro is that typically belts last longer than chains and they're not as greasy. They're not going to get your clothes all dirty. There's less maintenance that has to be done with them. And I feel like it makes for a quieter riding experience. This thing is pretty silent when you're actually riding it. So all those things are pluses with it. But one of the downfalls is when you're traveling at faster speeds, you do lose a lot of resistance in the pedals. And I think the reason is because, first of all, it's only a single drive. It's not like you can shift through gears. But the other main difference is I feel like it's a cadence sensor versus a torque sensor. If it was a torque sensor, I feel like it would have had a little bit more adaptability to how it rides, but since it's just a cadence sensor, it kind of just brings you up to a set speed, so no matter how hard or softly you're pedaling, you just go at that speed. So there isn't a lot of resistance in your pedals at faster speeds. So I typically found this e-bike to be more comfortable when you're pedaling it in slower speeds like pedal assist level 1 or 2, but when you get to 3, 4, or 5, you lose all resistance in your pedals and your feet are kind of ghost pedaling. So you can just casually, effortlessly move your legs and the bike is still going to propel you forward, or you can even rely on the thumb throttle. So I will say that it's very effortless, but I would prefer just a little bit more resistance in the pedals. Another thing that I've really appreciated with this e-bike is how lightweight it is. I feel like I've been testing out a lot of e-bikes that have been heavier bikes, like fat tire bikes or just normal e-bikes that are heavier, but this one feels really light to me, and it's because I haven't had a lightweight e-bike in a while. This only comes in at 44 pounds, which may seem a little bit heavy, but it's honestly super light compared to a lot of other e-bikes. So just managing this feels super nice and nimble. I feel like I can be zippy on it, and just hauling it around, picking it up and putting it in my house or taking it out in the garage, moving it places has been really simple to do just because it's more of a lightweight e-bike. So overall, I feel like this has been a pretty solid e-bike. It has some nice components on it which make it feel a little bit more higher end. Again, my one biggest downfall about it is that you lose resistance in the pedals at faster speeds, so that just feels a little bit unnatural to me. But the rest of the bike seems to work really nicely and well. I feel like the range on the battery is good. And one thing that I actually really enjoy as well is on your screen layout, you can toggle to a mode that lets you know how many miles you have left on your range. So that's really nice because a lot of times they just show you like a battery bar indicator, but this will say you have 43 miles left on this trip. So that's really nice to give you an idea of how far you can go on it as you're actually pedaling, to know if you need to stop and get gas or fill it up with electricity. So that's kind of cool about it. I really enjoyed that. And there it is. If you want to check it out, then yeah, I think it's a sweet bike. I think you'll be happy with it, more in a city experience or urban environment versus like the country where I live. I feel like I would have appreciated this more if I lived in the city and got to ride on like smoother types of environments or on sidewalks and commuting around. So those are kind of my thoughts about it, but check it out. I'll put a link in the description below. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this video gave you a little bit of insight.